Have you ever tried discussing something fascinating like UFOs, psychic development, or dare I say, God, with an atheist? Predictably, it probably went nowhere fast. Even if your friend or family member is a huge fan of movies in the realm of science fiction and fantasy, you may find that they aren't so willing to accept the things that they enjoy as part of their reality. And while what they are watching is completely fictional, there are very real concepts sprinkled into these shows. For example, recently superhero comic book TV shows and movies have taken the world by storm. Recently, HBO's new dark comedy, Peacemaker, is quickly climbing in popularity as it captures the minds with plots dancing in the idea of alternate realities.
Who are you? Why are you here?
Oh, dude, hold on, dude. It's me! I'm you from another dimension. My keys work to get in here.
Or better yet, how about the DC comic book TV show Lucifer with lots of angel drama?
What is it with you humans? Eh? Always blaming me. I never make any of you do anything.
Atheists and even people of other religions may love these TV programs, but if you actually try talking to them about angels from a Torah perspective, you'll likely get an eye roll and dismissive irritation. But what does any of this have to do with the magicians of Egypt? Well, let me explain. In last week's Torah portion, Va'era, Moshe is instructed by God to go to Pharaoh and demand that he let the Israelites go so they may worship Hashem. Could you imagine the job that Moshe and Aaron actually had? Could you imagine telling atheists or even someone from a different faith that the God of Israel has a message for them? For example, how do you think nations today like Iran or Qatar would respond to somebody walking in and demanding that they let the people go? Predictably, they wouldn't take it too well, and neither did Pharaoh. After Pharaoh speaks with Moshe and Aaron, he summons all of his magicians. Not just some of his magicians, but all of them. And this shows us that there was clearly a panic response by Pharaoh. With this, we now have Balaam, the most powerful and evil of Pharaoh's sorcerers, enter the scene. And with Moshe and evil wizards involved, I think it's time to dive a little deeper. There is a midrash that explains that after Pharaoh explained everything to his entourage of magicians, that the very first question they asked Pharaoh was how it was even possible that Moses and Aaron were able to approach him. Then the Pharaoh tells them exactly what happened.
They have raised the rod upon the lions and released them. And they came before me, and the lions rejoiced with them, as a dog rejoices before his master.
Once Balaam hears that Moshe, or Moses in English, was using a staff in order to tame the lions, he's immediately convinced that Moshe is just another magician like himself. He doesn't take the fact that this is a message from God seriously at all. At this point, Balaam decides that there should be a wizard battle so that he may debunk Moshe and Aaron. Pleased with this plan, Pharaoh invites Moshe and Aaron back to the palace. Upon arrival to the palace, Moshe and Aaron continue to follow Hashem's instructions and demand that Pharaoh let the Israelites go so that they may worship God. However, with Balaam's explanation fresh in Pharaoh's mind, he asks of the brothers,
And who will believe you, that you are the messenger of God, and that by his order you have come to me? Now give unto us a wonder, or a sign concerning this thing, then you can be believed.
And while asking for proof is reasonable and logical, it's the emotional aspects born from denial and ego that's the problem. And the arrogant aspect, well, let's face it, Pharaoh didn't ask Moshe and Aaron to perform signs and wonders so that they may be believed. He did it to set the stage so that his magicians, Balaam, could debunk them, could humiliate them, and outperform them in sorcery. At this point, Aaron hastened and cast down his rod from his hand before Pharaoh and his servants, and the rod turned into a serpent. And we all know that Balaam and his magicians tried to do the exact same thing, and they did, but Aaron's rod and staff would always consume theirs. Now here's where we start to see that Balaam and atheists have a similar mindset. They want control, and in order to maintain that, they have to be the center of the universe, not God, so they rationalize everything. In response to his defeat to God's messengers, Moshe and Aaron, Balaam says the following.
This thing is since times of old that one serpent should swallow up another, and that living beings should devour one another.
What we see here is identical to what the atheist radical does, right? Balaam gives a scientific explanation for the event, claiming it's normal for animals to eat each other. He uses facts about how our creation reality works to dismiss God from the equation entirely. We don't just see this with atheism either. Even the occult and various religions may dismiss God from the equation in many situations if it doesn't fit their narrative. It comes from the ego, which comes from eating from the tree of knowledge. Christians see Jews rejecting Jesus no differently than Jews see Balaam and Pharaoh rejecting God. And even though Jews believe in God, it doesn't matter to the Christian, and even though Balaam allegedly believed in God, it doesn't matter to Moshe. So how do we resolve this? How do we say which religion is correct? That's when God himself comes into the equation to settle the matter. This is partly why we see Hashem getting directly involved in Egypt. And if you notice that when God is directly involved, he doesn't take human form, he uses messengers. When a man believes he is God, or people believe a man can be God, that's when you get another Pharaoh. That's when problems happen. Pharaoh's God complex is strong. I mean, denial is more than just a river in Egypt, if you catch my pun there. When Pharaoh and Balaam refuse to accept the reality on the ground, we see the plagues of Egypt officially begin. The magicians are able to replicate the first several plagues in Egypt until we get to the lice, until we get to the plague of bugs. Now get ready, guys, because I'm about to drop a truth bomb about demons on you. The first question we should ask ourselves is, why lice? Why not like a horde of spiders? Rashi explains that this is because a demon has no control over any creature smaller than a barley corn. From this, we also now learn that the magicians were working with demons and their ridiculous wizard battle against Moshe, and more importantly, against God himself. Moshe is just the messenger after all. And while we may be reading about the nation of Egypt in last week's and this week's parashah, today, nations like Russia, China, Iran, and Qatar may hypothetically recognize there's more to our creation reality than meets the eye. But they're making the same mistakes that Egypt made more than 3,000 years ago. After all, in declassified CIA documents, we discover China was using children in psychic research. Saudi Arabia accused Qatar of paying millions of dollars to two countries in West Africa to summon spirits and harness jinn, which is another word for demon. And last year, Iran's Ayatollah accused Israel of summoning demons to attack them. These nations are either soliciting the magicians of Egypt like Pharaoh or thinking like them. Now, some may argue that even Judaism recognizes the existence of demons. So, how is the behavior of Iran or Saudi Arabia superstitious thinking? Additionally, many might say, didn't the director of the space program for Israel's Ministry of Defense claim there was a galactic federation? And while these may seem like legitimate counterpoints, they aren't, and they are missing the real problem. The issue is, when real truths are received in an incorrect way, it can lead one to reducing everything down to nothing more than science fiction. Also, receiving the truth through imbalance can lead to superstitious and magical thinking that distorts the understanding of God and his creation. It leaves them in the dark psychologically. There is a risk of forgetting that there is no reason to truly fear or doubt when you know the one true God, when you understand the singularity, the oneness, and that God is existence. It hinders one from knowing Yod K Vav K. Yod K Vav K, the very name revealed to Moshe before the plagues. And this four-letter name is the key to Psalm 91:14, which says, "For he yearns for me, and I shall rescue him. I shall fortify him because he knows my name." We truly have nothing to fear, and there is a relaxing joy in that. So now, the final question is, what can we currently do with the people who are denialist, hardcore atheists, superstitious, and emotionally or intellectually driven to failure in understanding God's oneness? Well, the answer is simple. In this week's Parashah Bo, we read about the plague of darkness. And this was no ordinary darkness either. It was a darkness so thick and tangible that the Egyptians couldn't even move, which means they couldn't even eat. And there is a simple yet powerful message conveyed here. Rabbi Hirsch Lee Berlin, also known as the Netziv, explains how the Egyptians survived this paralysis of sorts in his commentary on Exodus chapter 11, verse 2. Essentially, he states that while the Egyptians were frozen in the darkness and would have perished after a 3-day fast, Israel was able to move around in the light. Therefore, Israel fed the Egyptians, took care of them, and provided all of their necessities. The Israelites kept the Egyptians alive. Those in the light kept those in the dark alive. The Israelites could have chosen to let the Egyptians die after a lifetime of torment and slavery, but instead of kicking a man when he's down, they showed great kindness and mercy. They showed hesed. Because of this unbelievable compassion, this is why the Egyptians gave the Israelites their gold just before they left Egypt. Now let me wrap this up with a solution for today. Never tolerate oppressive or harmful behavior. Always defend yourself against anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, anyone who threatens your safety, or who mentally and emotionally torments you for believing in God, because they are acting no differently than the Egyptian oppressors when they do so. With that said, when our friends, family, or even local communities of different faiths are simply trapped in atheism or magical thinking that does not acknowledge the singularity of God, perhaps choose to show patience and kindness as they navigate their proverbial plague of darkness. When peace is on the table and the only thing we are facing are different views, then let peace remain by displaying the hesed through patient endurance, no differently than the Israelites showed their Egyptian neighbors compassion during their darkest moment. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching, guys.